And here we go with another edition of the Real Fellas Talk Sports. And this is the NFL Conference Championship episode. Gentlemen, how is it going? Let me start with you, Larry Abels. How are you doing?
It's all good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. Earl Go Rush, how about you?
I'm doing great, David. Thanks for asking. I'm looking forward to the show tonight.
All right, and Chuck, how are you doing,
Well,
Mister?
I'm doing wonderful. It's 8 o'clock on Wednesday. I call that happy hour. I can't wait to engage in sports talk with you fellas. I really enjoy it. So let's get at it.
Let's get at it. Let's talk about what we saw this past weekend as the NFL has really provided us a little action. Let's start with some perspective. Chuck, let me start with you. Your thoughts about what you saw this weekend.
I think it validated a thought that I've been having about Joe Burrow. God, he is just special. I don't know that I can put my finger on it exactly because I really had high hopes with Josh Allen in Buffalo, especially coming into the season. I mean, I picked him to even be in the Super Bowl all year long. But that daggone Joe Burrow is something special. So that's kind of my initial reaction just about the playoffs in general.
And let me go to you, Larry. Your thoughts initially about the playoffs and what you saw last weekend.
Oh, I saw more. I think the cream is rising to the top now. Other than the Giants and Philly game, very competitive games. One thing I like about the NFL is not voted on. The teams got to actually win the games, and players are showing up playing.
Earl, your thoughts?
Well, I was surprised and completely wrong about the outcome of the Cincinnati Buffalo game. Completely wrong. Looked like the offensive line pulled it together. They weren't as shaky as I thought. And what was the other series? Was Dallas? What was the other game this weekend?
49ers and
49ers
Kansas City and Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah. Kansas City and Jacksonville. What can you say? I'm a big Patrick Mahomes man, so I'm with him all the way. So I can't say anything about that. I can't say I'm surprised about the outcome of that game. And I thought the Dallas San Francisco game turned out just like I thought it was going to be because Dallas always finds a way to explode in the end. So pretty interesting weekend, I thought.
Okay. All right. One of the takeaways that I got from the weekend was the dissing of a guy that everybody really probably hyped too much. Is Josh Allen? Is he overrated? The quarterback for the Buffalo Bills didn't have the best of games, and I think a lot of people were waiting for him to stumble just a bit, and he did stumble. And Buffalo, which is kind of pushed and nipped at the heels of the conference championship, didn't get there. Let me start with you, Larry. Your thoughts about Josh Allen?
Oh, he just didn't have a good game against Cincinnati. I don't think he's overrated at all. I think he's certainly in the top 5 quarterbacks, maybe even higher than that. Anybody can have a bad game. And again, they're playing the cream of the crop now. Play the team that's playing very well on both sides of the ball.
Earl, your thoughts about Josh Allen? I mean, and I think my position on Josh Allen is this. We see what he can do, but it just felt like media and everybody else really were taking shots. Social media really took a lot of shots at Mr. Allen. Was it fair, Earl?
Well, like I said last week, we all had this guy, like we had him in the top 2 in the beginning of the season, and he was really playing very, very well. It's just till recently that he started getting all these turnovers. So to answer your question, I do believe that he is overrated because he was getting a lot of hype, but I do think he's still one of the top 3 quarterbacks out there for me. So I don't know how you can be in the top 3 and still be overrated, but I guess when you're silly like I am, you can be. But
Chuck,
yeah. You know.
Chuck, is Josh
I
Allen?
don't think he's overrated either. I want to just echo kind of what Larry and Earl said. I still think he's one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks in the league. But the last 5 or 6 weeks, he did struggle a little bit, and I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know that he knows why. But he didn't get it done. He really didn't get it done. And like Earl said earlier, with all those offensive linemen down for Cincinnati that you thought, and the game was in Buffalo, bad weather, snow, that you thought that it was primed for him. Just couldn't get it done.
My thoughts, really, very quickly as we move on. His first couple of years, keep in mind, he did struggle. He's really been the top tier quarterback only the last several years. And, a couple of bad games, a couple of shaky games. I think there were some wolves that were waiting to pounce. I'll say that. Let me just talk about.
Hey, David, can I make one more point about that? So I think sometimes, he got paid. Josh got paid, and Diggs got paid. And Cincinnati, they've made this decision with Burrows, and then they've got Chase and T. Higgins. And so they've got a lot of cats on their first contracts. So they're able to spread their money out amongst other dudes. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if Buffalo, as the year went on, was just their talent got thinned, or it's just somehow they lost some of that talent over time, and they weren't able to backfill it because of the money. Because I thought their defense was supposed to be pretty good this year, and it just never really was the second half of the season. So I don't know if that means anything or not.
You know what happened in the second half of the season? What's it? Von Miller
went down.
And it seemed like he had a big impact on their defense.
Yeah, I agree with you. And they invested in him with that expectation.
Von Miller does make a difference for that team. And, he was really helping them out as he came over to join them and maybe win another NFL championship. I'll get back to you, Chuck. You mentioned Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. Joe Burrow, I think he's elevated himself. Any thoughts about Joe Burrow at this point in his career?
God, he's so – I want to give you a reason why. Maybe it's just the fact that he's got the best receivers, the 3 best receivers in football as a trio, in my opinion. Maybe that guy, Zach Taylor, doesn't get enough credit as a coach, and he knows how to take advantage of that crew, although he had a losing record for years with Cincinnati. But Joe Burrow definitely seems like the real deal. He seems so much like the real deal that at the beginning of the week, they were favorite to beat Kansas City and Kansas this weekend. Las Vegas had Cincinnati as the 2 or 3 point favorite at the beginning of the week.
And maybe they're the favorite because they've beaten Kansas City three consecutive times. Earl, your thoughts on Joe Burrow?
I think Joe Burrow is a very good quarterback. I think he's a very good quarterback, but as Charles said, I don't know if he has to be the best 3 receivers that are in tandem, but they have 2 of the they have 2 of the strongest, best wide receivers in the game. So that has to help some. And when you say the beginning of the season, were they favored before they knew his ankle was hurt? Is that what you're saying?
Of the week, the beginning of the week. Now it's down to pick 'em. Now it's a pick 'em game. But at the beginning of the week, maybe that influenced it, obviously. But they were a 2.5 point. Cincinnati.
Is it maybe or is it obviously? Well, obviously, that influenced the who's winning with his ankles hurt. No.
Yeah.
No, I'm just asking.
I don't know if that has as much to do with it as the fact that they beat them 3 games in a row.
Okay. All right, David, back to you. I don't want to waste hold up the show. Back to you, David.
Larry, your thoughts?
I think Burrows could play from pretty much the moment he got into the league. I thought he was good as a rookie. Remember, he got hurt against Washington, but I think he was looking good. I think he's gotten better. He's progressed every year. So looks like a real good quarterback. Far as him being favored, I think it had to do with the quarterback, the availability of Mahomes. Mahomes was slated to practice today. I don't know how much
he did. It was a full practice, no limp. He didn't sit out any of it. He was a full go.
I knew.
And by the way, he came back in the game on Sunday.
Yeah, but he wasn't mobile like. He wasn't mobile when he came back in the game.
He wasn't the same guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't the same guy. Let me have a quick shout out to my man Terry Reed in Atlanta, Georgia, Hoosier by birth. Hey Terry, and Terry has some thoughts on Josh Allen, and I think he's pretty accurate about that. And I think we all kind of co-signed on that. How about those Cowboys? Speaking of Terry Reed, he's a Cowboy guy. Let's talk about the Cowboys. And I'll start with you, Earl. What's up with the Cowboys?
They for 28 years they just have not been able to go to the championship. They just never come through in the crucial times of the game for 28 years, and that's all I see. That's all I can say. I can't say any more. I can't say any less. I mean, the running back got hurt. Pollard, he got hurt. That had some effect of the game. But and yes, they could use a better. The wide receiver can use some help. And yes, the number 88 for Dallas is not really a number one receiver the way I see it. But they just never come through. They're just the Dallas Cowboys. They haven't done anything in 28 years. I don't know what else I can elaborate on.
Well, I think you're on point with that. And Larry, your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys, the most popular team in the NFL for many, many years.
They're probably the most popular, the most despised team all at once.
I think you're right. I think the Cowboys actually, I think Pollard getting hurt impacted them. They lost it on the offensive side. He was hurt, and Dak Prescott didn't play well. Their defense played very well, good enough to win. But their offense, stunk. I would say Dak Prescott better be glad he signed his contract when he did, because if he was up now, I think I kind of suspect he might not get to $40 million. Chuck,
my wonderful brother my wonderful brother Go Earl. He did everything in his power. He tried to even went out his way not to mention the fact that Dak Prescott was some garbage. You're gonna blame 88. You're gonna blame Pollard getting hurt. That Dak Prescott, as I've been saying for the longest time, he is just an average quarterback. That's it. He's not special at all. He's not a $40 million quarterback. And he was trash in that game. He got beat by a Mr. Irrelevant. Because Larry's right. The defense did their part. Dak did not do his part. And it's Dak. That's it.
He got beat by San Francisco's defense.
That's all garbage. It's just garbage. Burrows, you guys mentioned Burrows today. We talked about Burrows. We said he's got this thing. We talked about Allen. And you guys want to say with Dak, it's a team thing. It's 88's fault. Come on, man. Call it like it is. Let's keep it real.
I didn't say it was 88's fault.
You didn't mention Dak's name.
I said 88 is not a number one receiver.
He is a number one receiver.
Well, he actually had a good game. He had a good game Sunday.
Of course he did.
I think the main problem with Dak Prescott is he doesn't handle the pressure very well.
Not good.
Big games, he doesn't show up, but he has all the intangibles, at least on paper. He has a good arm. He's relatively mobile, but he seems like he doesn't deliver when you have to deliver. You mentioned Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. It was reported today. It looks like he's going to be the San Francisco 49ers quarterback of the future. How good is Brock Purdy really? And I'm going to start with you, Larry.
The jury's out on him. He's played well. He looked very, very ordinary, and this was really the first big test he had against a good defense. He looked very, very ordinary to me. But to his credit, considering he's a third-string quarterback, last person drafted, he did not make a big mistake in that game. And he kept he hung in there in a real tight game without making a mistake, unlike his counterpart who threw 2 interceptions. So back to Purdy, I think the jury's kind of out on him.
Chuck, your thoughts? Is he ready to become the permanent starter for the San Francisco 49ers?
I still think that's to be determined. But you have to admire what he has done so far. Although his coach is pretty amazing, right? His coach has taken some pretty bad quarterbacks and gone pretty far previously. So I think his coach reduces his exposure and doesn't ask Brock to do things that he might ask Aaron Rodgers to do, or some top-notch veteran quarterback.
Earl,
and the fact that he didn't turn the ball over is a big deal.
He's played well up to now. I think he's ready to be their quarterback. He's just as good as can't say it's a short sample size because Garoppolo has done very well, even though everybody highly criticizes him. But they pretty much seem like they have a team, the way they're coached, that just about almost anybody could quarterback them. So to answer your question, I think he's ready to be the quarterback. He showed me that he wasn't for the 7 games that he's played, But my question about this coach is, I only heard Deebo Samuel's name once the whole game. Why was he not utilized? I don't understand. I don't understand why you don't even try to utilize him.
Well, you got to ask Kyle Shanahan that. I mean, he's the play caller, head coach, and he's got to spread it around. He didn't, but they won the game. In the end, they won the game. Let me just ask this about Brock Purdy. Is he better for the 49ers than Trey Lance? In the end, that's really all that matters. Is he better than Trey Lance? I think he is.
Well, I think it's unfair.
Well, he had a chance. He had a chance. Trey Lance.
Well, he got hurt. He got hurt in the second or third game.
Well, he played last year, and he played a little bit this year.
He played a couple times before he got hurt.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He
didn't play one game and then got hurt. It didn't go like that. That's not the scenario.
He only played 2 or 3 games last year before he got hurt.
Well, he only played one. He only played one.
And one game was one game was in a rainstorm.
Man, a game, man. Everybody's playing the same elements, man. I don't hear that.
Well, I tell you what, if he gets to the Super Bowl, he's going to become the starter. I mean, this was the same kind of discussion 20-some years ago that we had about Tom Brady. It's almost an identical circumstance, except Tom Brady wasn't technically Mr. Irrelevant. He was 6th round.
Right.
And, who thought that he was going to be the main guy? And now he's considered the quarterback GOAT. Larry.
I think they just need to have an open competition at training camp, and whoever wins it. And I wouldn't. A lot might depend on what he does this week, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't bring in a veteran. Someone like Aaron Rodgers, because they're very close. I'm just using him as an example because they have a great team. If they had a more experienced quarterback, and they need to get over the hump, he might be able to take them over the hump.
They could use the whole playbook then.
I think they have been using a lot of the playbook. I think a lot of us are being really unfair to Brock Purdy. I think he's played very well.
He has.
Very well.
That's what we've all agreed on.
And I think if you look at his collegiate career, if he wasn't Mr. Irrelevant, the last player drafted, we would have a different perspective of him. But what you want a rookie quarterback to do is not mess things up and to do well when you're asked to do well. He's done all of that. Anyway, let's move on.
He was drafted by a good team, David. He was drafted by a good team.
Well, you have to be drafted.
Lord.
And him being Mr. Irrelevant has no bearing on how
it really doesn't.
Yeah.
It really does.
I didn't say that. I
about
didn't
this.
say you. I'm talking about the media in general.
Oh,
The media in general. We're part of the media, of course. Let's
I
look
like that.
at this coming Sunday and the matchups we're facing this coming Sunday. 49ers at the Eagles. What do we say about that game? And let me start with you, Earl. 49ers, Eagles.
Philadelphia by 10. Brock Purdy is playing very well, but I don't think he's going to be able to step up to the plate to match Philadelphia's offense. Philly's scoring at least 27, 28 points in that game. I don't think Purdy's going to put 28 on the board. I'm going with Philadelphia. I think they win by 10.
Okay, Larry.
we didn't talk about the Philadelphia Giants game, and I'm still I'm hoping Hurts is 100%. He really only threw for 154 yards, and they were able to run the ball. They ran for almost 270 yards against the Giants. Somehow, I don't think they're going to be able to run that much against the 49ers. So I really want to see more of Hurts and see what he does. Nevertheless, I still think I'm assuming Hurts might be having a chance to recover by now. So I'm looking for them to win that game.
Chuck.
I like the Eagles too. We talk about Brock Purdy. This guy, Jalen Hurts, and what he has done this season has been pretty damn remarkable, quite frankly. And he should, too, be in the MVP voting conversation. And I think he's still being undervalued. And I think he's going to show the world this Saturday or Sunday. Or
I think he should be the leading candidate as far as the way I see it. Not because he's a black quarterback. What he's done is great.
I agree. He can go downfield.
I
He can
think
throw
what
the
hurt-
mid-range.
I think what hurt Jalen Hurts is just being injured. He was, at least by basic consensus, the leading candidate for MVP, regardless of what Mahomes was doing, because the Eagles were playing so well with his leadership. When he went down, they lost a couple of games. And it showed how valuable Jalen Hurts is. So we'll see.
Before then, he was leading candidate.
I think the Eagles are going to win the game. What do you say?
Before then, he was a leading MVP candidate. He got hurt a couple of games. Those 2 games that he didn't play, Mahomes didn't just play come on like gangbusters and just jump up the ladder. But, so he should still be the lead candidate. The way I see it, people get hurt. He didn't get hurt for a long time. This is crazy. And I'm a Patrick Mahomes man.
I think Brock Purdy comes down to earth this weekend because that's a big game, man. It's the NFC Championship game, and that's a good defense that Eagles has.
He can play well. He just might not be able to match. Philly has a lot of offensive.
There's gonna be a lot coming at him.
Well, I just think it's an interesting matchup. Jalen Hurts, another quarterback who was questioned along the way, drafted in the second round, not deemed really NFL ready. In fact, he wasn't deemed ready at the University of Alabama.
Right.
As Tua took over, and he had to go to Oklahoma to somewhat prove himself. But even with 4,000 passing yards, he still didn't get all the respect. And I think now he's getting the respect. But I'm saying, if Brock Purdy and San Francisco win, don't be surprised, even though I think the Eagles are probably going to pull that out.
Hey, I want to make a comment, too, about that Giants game that Larry just brought, only because I want to make a point. There was a lot of good talk about Jones, and, maybe he should get paid big time after they destroyed that sorry fraud of a team, Minnesota. But I saw Jones come back to earth. I mean, I don't even know if he was off the earth anyway, but he can't. And I still think New York, no matter what they say, the lip service and so forth, and we were talking about this as a group last week, I find it fascinating with teams like the Giants, Geno, and Baltimore, what they're going to do with their quarterbacks and what they're going to pay them. I just think that's fascinating, really. I do.
Well, we're going to
I
learn a
do.
lot of things, and particularly Daniel Jones, who you just mentioned with the Giants. He's played fairly well. Again, he's a player that hasn't gotten a lot of acclaim, and people pick apart his game. But it took a coach that embraced him. He's kind of a Josh Allen light, but has a similar skill set, strong arm, able to run, and is very athletic. So it's similar, very similar. Did I overlook you, Larry?
No, we talked about it. I mean, I had a comment. I think Brock Purdy kind of came down to earth this week against the Cowboys. But again, he didn't make a mistake, which I think is very, especially when I'm looking at a rookie quarterback going against a real top-notch defense.
Real good defense.
Yeah, and he was able not to make a mistake. I don't think he has the ability to beat teams like the Eagles, like he might have do like when he played Washington, teams like that. But if Jalen Hurts is healthy, and I'm still, he had a pretty pedestrian game by his standards last week. I think he's gotten better and better this whole year. You're talking about how first he wasn't perceived that well. This year he's proved himself, no doubt. If he's healthy, I think the Eagles are the team to beat.
I don't want to put too fine a point, Larry, but I don't think the 49ers asked Purdy to do too much. Keep the ball in the middle of the field. Get it to Kittles. Dump it down. I don't think they asked him to do that much. And I think, to be honest with you, I think that coach says, and let the other quarterback screw it up, and we'll just win that way.
I think you raise a good point. I think the coach does adjust to the talent that he has. That's one thing he does, but I don't think he had a choice this week. I mean, he played. They was on him. If it wasn't for Kittle making that catch, that big catch,
that was a hell of a catch.
He would have had 200 yards passing. He had like 240 yards.
Well, let me ask you guys this. There's so much goes into judging who's the top quarterback and who's this and who's that. Okay, we have Mr. Irrelevant, last player drafted, who actually played fairly well and has kept his team in contention all season that he's played. Do the NFL scouts and general managers overthink the quarterback position? Because there's been a lot of failures in that first round. All we have to do is look at the New York Jets. They failed. Brock Purdy is better than the number 2 pick from last year. Earl, I'll start with you on that.
Good question.
Do they overthink that?
I don't think they overthink it. I think it's just a matter of some personnel talent evaluators are better than others. That's all. I don't think they overthink it. How can you overthink the quarterback position? That's the most important position in the game.
A lot of mistakes get made by picking quarterbacks.
That doesn't mean it's overthought. It just means people just ain't thinking right. You ain't got the right people doing the right thinking. That's all. No, I don't think they overthink it. To answer your question, I don't think they overthink.
Larry.
I don't think they overthink them any more than any other position. And I think a big part of it is where we keep going back to Shanahan. He knows how to work quarterbacks. I think our friend in Seattle is very good at quarterbacks. If I look at a very small sample size with Geno Smith and Russell Wilson, both of them flourished under him. Russell Wilson leaves and he's struggling. I don't know whether his father time caught up with him, but it was a dramatic drop-off when he left a situation that was good for him.
Chuck.
I'm going to take a different. So, David, you mentioned something earlier, and I want to throw this out to the group. If you guys could have Tua, Hurts, or who's the quarterback in Boston that played at Alabama, that plays with the Patriots?
Is it Jones?
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. So if you had Mac Jones, Hurts, and Tua today, who would this panel take? Because, they chased Hurts out of Alabama for Tua.
Hurts.
Exactly.
Hurts.
Exactly.
Right.
I think Hurts has just been he's just been underrated in his career for whatever reason. Maybe it's what you talk about, David, all the time, that somebody gets a tag on them and the media jumps down their throat or something.
The quarterback is a perception position to a certain degree. The certain perception is labeled on a quarterback, either whether he is good, mediocre, bad, or average. And that tag seems to stick with a guy irrespective of what we actually see that person do on the field.
Well, but Tua may have been better than him at Alabama. At that point in time, Tua might have been better than him. He's not better than him now.
Although I wonder, maybe he wasn't. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. Maybe Burrows was better than the gentleman, Haskins at Ohio State, but he got ran out of Ohio State and was flourishing. So back to the evaluation thing, I don't know. I mean, it's because to me, they do get it wrong a lot in terms of the evaluation of a quarterback.
Earl, your thoughts real quickly.
No, you asked me first. No, I don't think they over.
All right. All right. Let's move on to the other conference championship game. The Bengals and the Chiefs. Joe Burrow versus Mahomes. Who's winning that game? And I'll start with you, Chuck.
I like the Chiefs. I like the Chiefs by 3. I mean, how can I go against? I know Bengals have won 3 times over against the Chiefs, but Mahomes is just magic, and it's in Kansas City. That is going to be one hell of a football game. I ain't going to lie. But I think the Chiefs will win by 3.
Larry.
All depends on how well Mahomes' ankles heal. If Mahomes does not have the mobility, his full mobility, I'm going with the Bengals. If he's has his full mobility, which is kind of, they're making it seem like he's going to have that, I'm with the Chiefs. But if not, I'm going with the Bengals.
Earl.
That's a tough one for Earl, boy.
He's not gonna have his full mobility. We all know that. I'm sure all of us have had some sprained ankles at one time or another growing up, and a high sprained ankle, and it just don't cure like that. It just doesn't get well just like that overnight. I'm still going with Kansas City, but if he doesn't, like Larry says, if his mobility is messed up, it's going to be a problem, but I'm still going with Mahomes. I can't go against him.
I think the team playing the best right now, believe it or not, are the Cincinnati Bengals. They were in the Super Bowl last year. They've had a really good second half run, and I think Joe Burrow has something to prove against Mahomes, and he's just been sensational. He's just been sensational.
Oh my God!
Are you picking Cincinnati?
I'm looking forward to that game.
Are you picking Cincinnati?
I'm going to say I'm picking Cincinnati.
I got a
picking
question for
Cincinnati.
you. What does Joe Burrow have to prove to anybody? He's beat Mahomes 3 straight times. So what does he have to prove?
The perception. The quarterback position is a perception position. He's up for a major contract. I think he'll get a contract that will push $55 to maybe $60 million per year. And the media loves cool Joe Burrow. And don't think that doesn't matter. It does.
Well, that team, that team he plays for, Cincinnati, doesn't have a history of paying top dollar. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
He has to get the top dollar. He has to.
That history, the history of that team.
I mean, every NFL team makes money.
No, I get that. I get that. But that owner, they don't pay usually.
Maybe 50, David, but you're going overboard 60 million from a Cincinnati franchise. I don't care what the market is or what the market says or whatever.
Okay, we'll see.
60 million out of that.
We will see.
Go ahead, Larry. I thought Burrows was good since he's been in the league and gotten better. But back to them, just remember, he looked great last week. They looked great last week. But the week before when they played Baltimore, they were like,
he struggled.
That's a good defense. That's a good defense, though. That Baltimore's a good defense.
Yeah. So it is interesting. It's going to be a great game.
Oh my God.
All right.
I mean, Earl makes a point about football, and I agree with Earl that your offensive line, it's important, right? And somehow Burrows can get sacked 9 times and still win a ball game. Like, that's weird to me. And so there's something about him that's magical. And by the way, he doesn't change his demeanor either. He doesn't get mad at his line and stuff like that. So I don't know. He's a special.
You know what else their line did? They was able to run the ball on Buffalo.
They did. Mixon had what 120 some yards rushing in that game. Right.
That just exposed Buffalo. That's all that did.
I know what happened to them.
It'll be interesting time. So we will all be watching Sunday night. Looking forward to the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks. Who are the two teams that are going to be facing off in the Super Bowl? It sounds like the consensus is Kansas City versus
Philly.
Philly. Now, what's the historical significance of Kansas City versus Philly? Can we guess what that historical significance would be? I'll ask you, Larry.
The athletic baseball team both played in both cities.
Wrong answer. Chuck, historical significance.
Historical significance.
Oh, Andy Reid.
Well, that might be. Yeah, Andy Reid.
Earl.
Coach both teams. I don't know.
Historical significance if it's Philly versus Kansas City.
I have no idea, David. And
two black quarterbacks in the Super Bowl. That's never happened. And the progress that's been made at the quarterback position, regarding race has been impressive. It's still not where it should be, but it's been impressive. Let's move to the NBA.
I didn't know Mahomes was black.
Yeah, he's like 50% black, right?
Well, if he got any black in him, he's black. I didn't know. I just didn't know.
Gentlemen.
He seemed like he was a black dude on those commercials. Is he black for real? Y'all joking?
Yeah, Earl, you know he's black.
Oh, he a patty boy. Okay, all right.
Okay, let's move on. NBA. Let's quickly talk about the NBA. This is an NFL show tonight, but the NBA is moving past its halfway point. What observations? And let me pick my NBA expert, Larry, to start. What key observation do you have at the NBA at this point?
I'm not going to characterize it as a key observation, but what I'm going to say is there's a team sneaking up in the NBA West. And I shared this with Go-Go Earl the other day, and he didn't believe me. And it's the Sacramento Kings. They're in third place. They played the Grizzlies the other night and beat them by 33. And I was looking forward to the game, even though Ja didn't play, but they definitely dominated them. They won 7 out of their last 10. De'Aaron Fox is averaging about 24 points a game. They're getting decent play for Sabonis. The whole conference looks like it's upside down to me. Sacramento Kings.
And you know what? That's better for the NBA. Earl, you have some thoughts right now on the NBA.
Yeah. I'm a Laker fan. I love the Lakers. I've always loved the Lakers. But I just know that they need to make some moves, and they need to make some moves quickly if they have any chance of even being in the playoffs. And I find it sad that they're in a situation where they have to make moves. And Larry's been trying to tell me about them, but this guy's not the answer. And they try to get whatever this guy's name from the Wizards. I just don't understand that we're at that point where the Lakers are making feeble attempts to better their team like that. So my observation is the Lakers are not going to the playoffs this year. That's my observation for that.
Chuck.
So scoring is up. Scoring is up in the NBA big time. That's my observation in terms of big picture. And David, as much as I kind of debated with you off camera, I think with the group after the show last week, you're right. Your guy in Denver, he's playing pretty good ball. I think he's had 4 straight triple doubles or something, and Denver is on top of the West, et cetera, et cetera. But Earl, don't give up hope on our Lakers. They're creeping up. They're playing better. Anthony Davis comes back tonight. And I think this guy, Rua, they say he's a catch and shoot guy, and he's 6'9", 6'10". So he can help
played
him
for the Wizards, Charles. He played for the Wizards.
No, but
Hey, Chuck.
shoot.
Chuck, he's going to be a good addition for them.
Yeah.
He was averaging about 13 or 14 points, playing 24 minutes a game. If he gets about 20 minutes a game, and with the players they have on that team that will actually pass him the ball, like LeBron and Westbrook.
I think that I know David doesn't like to talk about the Lakers too much, so I just one minute last comment. Westbrook is playing better off the bench with that group. Rua added. Anthony Davis gets back tonight. LeBron's playing fine. They're playing a little bit better.
Charles,
I think they're going to make the playoffs.
Charles, Anthony Davis will be hurt next week.
Well,
So don't even bring his name.
Okay, and I agree with Earl. Anthony Davis will be hurt.
Y'all stop wishing bad luck on the man.
I know.
Let me
bad
say this,
juju out
and you're
there.
going to be shocked that I'm going to say this, but I'm cheering for the GOAT of the NBA currently, the aging GOAT, LeBron James, to get the scoring championship and exceed Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Looks like it might at the scoring average that he's at, it might take about 4 or 5 more games, 6 more games, and he will be the all-time scoring leader. The greatness of LeBron James is simply that he's played consistently well for 20 consecutive seasons. Is he the GOAT? No. Is he the longevity GOAT? Absolutely. No player has ever played this well this long. But is he better than Michael Jordan? No.
What did he have last night, David?
You get like
He had
47 or something.
46.
Did they win?
In a
Did they win
losing-
this night?
They got crushed.
No.
Wow. So we
In a losing
we
effort.
happy that somebody scored
In a
big
losing
score
effort.
on a losing game. Is that where we are now?
No, I just asked how much he's got, saying he had
I'm
46
just asking
points.
why you bringing it up if they lost.
Because 46 is remarkable.
So I'm saying we're at the point now where we're happy if someone scores a lot of points, even if they lose the game. That's what I asked
Well,
you.
other guys get
Well, then the
45,
answer is
50
yes. That's
points.
all. You making something out of nothing. I asked
All
you.
right,
Yes,
And you're a Laker fan, huh?
I'm a Laker fan.
You disguise it. You
I'm
disguise it
I'm
well.
I'm a reality fan, Charles.
No, you're not.
God
I'm
damn.
enjoying seeing LeBron and Ovechkin at their advanced age still playing on top of the games in both of their respective sports. It's a great enjoyment.
Absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
They're not still playing.
Oh, by the
Before
way,
we
by the
close
way,
out-
by the way, David, his offspring
Yes, sir.
made the McDonald game. Bronny is going to be in the big time McDonald All-American game, which is a big deal.
He's on the All-American game.
And whoever
because
made
he's
the decision got a
LeBron's
big
son.
check from his father.
All right, before we close out, one last topic and just some quick thoughts. We all don't agree on this topic. Ed Reed, the Hall of Fame safety, retired safety of the Baltimore Ravens, one of the greatest players in NFL history, was lined up for a job at Bethune-Cookman College and trashed the school. I think there's some issues, larger than just what happened between Ed Reed and Bethune-Cookman. But let me ask you guys what you're thinking about that. And Ed Reed was expected to do a version of what Deion Sanders did with Jackson State. And I'll start with you, Larry, because you really has some thoughtful comments about this.
Yeah, and I may have other comments later, but Ed Reed, I'm sad about Ed Reed because I don't think he's ever going to get a job coaching. I thought this would be a good opportunity for him to get some coaching experience. The athletic director at his school, who happens to be a former pro athlete, matter of fact, I'll tell you his name is Reggie Theus. They were planning on using both of their contacts to bring in funding to get some facilities for the school. But for some inexplicable reason, Ed Reed goes on social media and trashes the school, calls the administration, I'm not going to quote, but I'll say he said MFers, and went on a tirade.
It was a disgraceful outburst.
Putting the school in position where there's no way they can give him a job. Came back with a great apology, honoring Mary McLeod Bethune And then when he didn't get the job, he went on another tirade. I'm not able to make any type of judgment about Ed Reed. Behavior seems very bizarre to me. I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I hope whatever it is, he can move on from it. He's even done some other things, telling people he had the Jackson State job after Dion emphasized that his selection was his assistant coach. Then he came out and said, "Well, I turned down the Jackson State job." So I really want him to take a chill pill. I want somebody to talk to him, and he really seemed to generally want to do something good for the school at Bethune-Cookman with Reggie Theus. I hope he still does it, even though he's not going to be the coach.
Is it possible, and I'll ask each of you guys, is it possible that the outburst and his apparent instability, we're talking about football players. He was a hard hitter. Could it be CTE?
Could be.
David, that thought entered my mind. It entered my mind. And, I hesitate, because none of us are qualified to do that. But that thought did enter my mind. I was really sad for him. I mean, I thought it was a good opportunity for him to get, he missed out on an opportunity. And I don't know. I hope he's all right. I really do hope he's all right.
Any thoughts from you, Earl?
I didn't look at him as possible. CTE never went through my brain because I know some people who would react the way that this gentleman act. And to be honest with you, I just said he's just one of those people that I know would act that way. We all know people that would act that way, and we were looking and think that they had CTE. You bring up a good point, but that could be because it was just crazy.
Sometimes really bizarre behavior like that, we do have to at least think about it, and particularly professional football and guys who played a long time in certain positions, and in fact any position at football, and it's kind of sad. But, the point I want to make is I want to see HBCU facilities and sports do better. And I'll leave it at that. Anyway, gentlemen, any closing thoughts before we close out this show?
I have one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Georgetown University won their first game. It's the first time they've won a game in 619 days. It's the longest losing streak of any team in the Big East. And this is a school that has won 8 Big East championships, 10 titles, or a league, led the league going into the tournament. They won a national championship in '84. It's just tough for me because I'm a huge Patrick Ewing fan, a huge Georgetown fan. And it just breaks my heart to see the state of which they're in right now. They're 6-19. They're 1-9 in the conference, and they celebrated this victory by taking a photo shots in the locker room, holding heavyweight belts and giving up. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable, and it was sad. So I just wanted to make comment of that.
Larry or Earl, any closing thoughts?
I wanted to give just a thought back. You guys know that I've always been a proponent of paying college football players, the schools playing college athletes in general. Can't remember the young man's name. Guy from California had a deal with Florida with a cooperative that was supposed to pay him $13 million. Cooperative backs out of the deal, leaving the guy out there, late in the recruiting game. I'm sure he's good enough that he'll get another job. And I heard the cooperative up in Washington was thinking about paying him. But the NCAA or somebody needs to rein that in because the schools have taken no responsibility. And even though the cooperatives are not supposed to be recruiting, that sounds an awful lot like recruiting to me. And there needs to be some regulation of it.
Mm-hmm. Any closing thought from you, Earl?
No. It's a great show. I don't want to end it with a lot of stupidness. But no, I don't have any comments.
I hear you. I've got one closing thought. Scott Rowland, outstanding Major League Baseball player, became the first and only player selected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in the normal time frame. And I'll say this: very good player. Is he a Hall of Fame worthy player? I don't think so.
No.
I can't take the Hall of Fame seriously until the great Barry Bonds and the great Roger Clemens get in. When players like Scott Rowland, who is a good player but not great, Hall of Fame should be for greatness. Anyway, that's my closing thought, and we'll leave it at that. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure, and thanks again.